Yeah, no, thank you for the opportunity. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm over here in the West Coast and I got my times mixed up, so I apologize for being a little late. But I'm grateful for the opportunity to be able to talk to you all today. Yeah, so I'm from Refuge Recovery. And if you'd like to ask any questions as I'm going through this, please feel free to jump in. I'm the type of person, I could be, it's hard to get me started, but once you get me going, I love talking about this stuff. So one thing is I would like to read some of the preamble stuff from the meeting, but I just want to give also a little bit of background on myself. I'm someone that always had alcoholism in my whole life, basically, and some drug abuse for a very long time, severe drug abuse. And then somewhere around 2010, I decided to, change my ways. And I was seeing a therapist, and he I was basically like doing a lot of street stuff that I wasn't supposed to be doing, and I did not want to do any of the traditional things. So he invited me to go check out this place called Against the Stream. Against the Stream is a meditation group created by Noah Levine. And while I was there, they were starting up these new meetings for people that were into Buddhism, and they wanted to find they wanted a recovery program. So then they were starting up this group called Refuge Recovery. And so I went there and I got really involved with them. And basically, what Refuge Recovery is a recovery program first. And they use some of the tools in Buddhism to find that path of recovery. And so what I'd like to do next is kind of just show you what the preamble is that is read at every meeting, and then one of the tools that we actually use. So I'll bring that up for you right now. All right, so at the beginning of every meeting, we have our preamble. So we'd welcome everyone to the meeting of Refuge Recovery. And Refuge Recovery is actually the name of a book written by Noah Levine. And it's the book that we get our readings from, and it has several different chapters in there that helps guide you through the process of recovery. And one of the things I really enjoy, there's even this section in there that shows you what you should do at the beginning, tips for how to go through this path after you've been there for a couple months, years, and it even has an outline for 15 years plus. So it is thought of as a long-term recovery program. All right, so all are welcome to these Refuge Recovery meetings. And in Refuge Recovery, we are a Buddhist-oriented, non-theistic recovery program that doesn't ask anyone to believe in anything, only to trust the process and do the hard work of recovery. No previous experience or knowledge of Buddhism is required. This program provides a systematic approach to recovery from all forms of addiction. When sincerely practiced, it will ensure a full recovery from addiction and a lifelong sense of well-being and ease. Our understanding is that recovery is a process of healing the underlying conditions that lead to addiction. It's also establishing and maintaining abstinence from the substances and behaviors that we have become addicted to. In Refuge Recovery, we are developing the ability to inhabit the conditions of our present reality, whether pleasant or unpleasant. And just a couple of thoughts on that. One of the things that attracted me to it was it was easy. It was pretty approachable for me to come because I didn't have to be Buddhist. I still don't identify as a Buddhist for this. I just wanted to go to a place to kind of be able to investigate and sit with how I was. I realized that a lot of my addiction, and depression and anxiety and all these things were basically based off of me trying to escape the present reality. So I would use or drink to either increase pleasure or make that pleasure last longer, or I would use to escape whatever pain I was feeling. And those were the only tools I had. And what I've learned in this program is to be able to actually sit with the way things are at the moment. I'm practicing not to run away from the way I feel. And that also I don't have to do anything to increase anything. Like just being here with you folks is already awesome enough. Where in the past, if I would have wanted to do some sort of, because I actually, I'm a teacher for a living and I give lectures around Los Angeles, I would think that I needed to actually have a drink or something before I did that so I could get through it, or enjoy something more. And now with these teachings, it's more about being able to accept things the way they are for what they are. The other thing that I wanted to share with you is there's this one of the tools that we do use in Refuge Recovery is, when it comes to this Buddhism thing, is they follow what's called the 4 truths and actions. And so I'll just briefly go through those. The first one is that we take stock of the suffering we have experienced and caused as addicts. And we realize that that is true, that as addicts, we have caused suffering and we have experienced suffering. And we investigate what that is like, which leads me into number 2. We investigate the causes and conditions that lead to addiction. And then the key to that is that we also begin the process of letting that go, letting go of our past behaviors, letting go of our past resentments, and being able to stay in the present rather than like having this desire to have a better past. Number 3, we come to understand that recovery is possible and take refuge in the path that leads to the end of addiction. So the fact that recovery is possible is something I really needed to hear when I was brand new to this. The first time that I had gotten drunk enough to want to fight everybody at the party, I was around 4 years old, stealing drinks from my aunts and uncles' cups. So me being, in my early 30s, when I first came to Refuge, I did not think recovery was possible. In my mind, alcohol and drugs were always a part of my life, so I didn't understand that there was another way. And so this understanding that I can take control over my future was actually very empowering for me. Number 4, it's that we engage in the process of the Eightfold Path that leads to recovery. Now, this Eightfold Path is 8 different factors. The first one is understanding. The second one is intention. 3 is communication and community. Action and engagement is number 4. 5, right livelihood and service. 6 is effort and energy. And then 7 and 8 are meditations. We have mindfulness meditation and concentration meditations. So the first one, understanding, is just being able to understand the causes and conditions that led us to this. And then we also practice that with everyone else. Like anytime I'm dealing with someone, I come to them with the intention to understand where they're coming from. Number 2 is having a positive intention. When I was in active use, a lot of my intentions were negative. And that had a huge effect on how I felt about myself, the world around me, and that would, pretty much make it a lot easier for me to use. And now with these positive intentions, I don't see myself as a person using, and that definitely helps keep me on track. Communication and community. Using, I was really good at isolating myself from everyone. I did not have its large community. In fact, if you told me not to use or anything like that, then I would cut you out of my communication and community. Where now this is about reaching out to people, and I reach out to at least 2 different people that are in our groups every single day, so that I make sure I don't fall back into this idea of isolation. 4, action and engagement. Again, putting in the right actions. And engaging with different people, engaging in my own recovery is very important. It starts leading into the 6th one, which is effort and energy. The effort and energy that I'm putting into my own recovery process. Right livelihood and service is just like what it sounds. I'm trying to live right. My amends for the way I've been is by the way I live today. And being of service to others. Being of service to others has been huge. And this program really allows people to be of service in many different ways. As you come in, there's different readings that you could do. You're being of service just by mindfully listening to other people sharing. There's different service positions at different levels. And for myself, service has definitely helped me. It's given me a sense of purpose, and it's definitely kept me accountable. Because in order to be of service, we also follow the 5th precept that you are not to use drugs or alcohol. And I've been talking about drugs and alcohol as well, but it also refers to process addictions. Process addictions is a big part of this program as well. So we want to adhere to our process addiction bottom lines. we refrain from using alcohol and any recreational drugs. So even if like I came to this program for alcohol, I still don't use any cannabis, or I've now created some process addiction bottom lines for myself. And then the last two are the meditations, mindfulness meditations, which was very scary for me in the beginning because I had to actually sit and see what was going on in my mind. I had to investigate the feelings that were going on, and I had to see where my mind was going. But it allowed me to sit with myself and actually it sounds weird, but having a better relationship with myself. I was not doing the right livelihood thing, and I had bad intentions. So how could I trust myself and sit with myself? Now with this mindfulness meditation, I'm able to stop, pay attention to what's going on in my mind, and then actually show myself some compassion and understanding, and be able to sit with myself and actually be conscious of my actions in a way that I haven't been most of my life. Concentration meditations kind of follow along the same way. And we also do these things called heart practices, where we are basically showing compassion for ourselves, offering appreciative joy to ourselves and others. It's basically for all beings. So that means everyone in this room, everyone outside of here, everyone around us. And then one thing that I've learned in here too is when it comes to all beings, that I am also included in that. So practicing forgiveness for myself, offering myself appreciative joy, which was very difficult for me, and still is. It's still part of my practice. So those are kind of the things that I wanted to break down for you guys as far as like the program goes. And I hope it kind of gives you an idea of where it goes into. But I think another highlight was that we welcome everyone. Everyone is welcome to come in here into these meetings. Like I said before, no prior experience to Buddhism or anything. You don't have to be a Buddhist to be here. If you suffer from any sort of addiction or process addiction, you're definitely welcome here. We have meetings that focus on food, codependency, substance abuse, and everything in between. And we're starting to create meetings that focus on this slightly different take on the fourth step that you might be familiar with. We do a thing called a truth inventory, where we take inventory on basically the causes and conditions of of using. So the purpose of it is to identify the suffering that we've caused. And then like the way it looks at it is that when we can identify all the ways our addictions have caused suffering, then we can see the suffering and know the full price of actually using. So for example, like one of the questions would be, suffering is the stress created by craving for more. List the stress your addiction has created. How did it manifest day to day, moment to moment? And then being able to go through that list and see how my addictions caused me stress, it gives me a better understanding of where I was at, and has definitely helped me remember like why I'm not using today. And it's a pretty long list. It's something that we do yearly, and it's something that we don't jump into right away. It's something that's suggested to do somewhere around the 4-month mark, once you get a good understanding of creating a community for yourself, reaching out to people, and then practicing some of this meditation stuff. So those are some of the major things I wanted to bring up. I could go on more, but I also curious if anyone has any questions. I don't know if that's appropriate for the format, but if you did have some questions, I would love to hear them and see if I could help answer some of those questions for you.
Hi, I had a question. And you mentioned that some meetings were focused on different things. So different refuge meetings are targeted for different addictions. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, so this is a fairly new thing for us, where they call them affinity groups now. In general, if you were to attend any refuge meeting, you can, I guess the format would be like we do an introduction, we do some of the basic readings, we sit and do a 20-minute meditation, and then someone reads a selection from the book, and then we open it up to sharing. So the sharing portion it's mostly about you talking about your path of recovery, what your experiences are. And a lot of times you're going to hear people talking mostly about alcohol and substance abuse. You can talk about process addictions, you know, whether it be gambling, video games, sex addictions, whatever it might be. And then what we've learned is that there are some people that, because they hear so much of the substance and alcohol abuse, they might not feel comfortable to open up about their eating disorders. So recently, there have been a couple meetings that started that will have something like they'll be called food focus or something like that. And what that does, the hopes of that is that people will feel more comfortable there to open up about those things. So yes, we do have some meetings where the focus is on different addictions, but at any meeting you could talk about any addiction you might have. So I don't want it to sound like if you go to a standard meeting, you wouldn't be able to talk about gambling or you know, or your food, your issues with food. You definitely would be able to do that. And if you need a space where it's focused on that, we're starting to make those available as well.
How big is Refuge?
Refuge is pretty big. We have, God, I wanted to say a couple hundred online meetings, and there's definitely many on, sorry, I'm taking a quick look at the website. There's like, yeah, I don't know the exact number, but it looks like well over 100 online meetings. I'll, if it's okay with you, I could put a link in the chat to show you the online meetings. And that's a full list of all the meetings available online. Some of them have a location associated with them. You don't have to be from that area to attend. Let's see. And but you can actually, there are some in person as well. How many we have in person, I'm really not sure, because this whole thing with COVID, some of them have actually, they're no longer active. And what we're doing right now is we're trying to find which ones are still active and which ones are sprouting up as new. So one of my roles for Refuge Recovery is I help out what they call World Services. And I train the new secretaries to create a new meeting. And I'm doing that at least once a week, sometimes twice a week, where a new meeting is coming up. So that number is constantly changing. Yeah, we're trying to make it really accessible. That's one of the things that Noah's been focused on a lot recently, making these meetings accessible to people. So that's where the online thing came on. People were worried that once places started opening up that the online meetings would go away. That has not happened. If anything, we've seen them increase. We've seen in-person meetings start increasing. Also, there is a Refuge Recovery YouTube channel. So I know when I was first coming out of active addiction, trying to get sober, I'd really get antsy, you know, start feeling those urges and stuff like that around midnight, you know, on whether it be a Friday or a Tuesday. There's no meetings at that time. So there's actually a YouTube channel, and on there, there's a whole library of basically Noah leading a meeting. And it starts off the same way a regular meeting would. Of course, there's no interaction because it's a pre-recording, but it's a recording of him actually starting off the meeting with the preamble and all the readings. It goes into a meditation, and there was a live audience there. So there is this interaction, and it's like the closest thing to having a meeting without there actually being one on there. So, so yeah, we just try to make them as available as possible. There's some in Tokyo, there's some in Australia, there's some in Amsterdam. So there's some at like 5 a.m. East Coast time. There's some like, because they're in different countries, they're at all different hours of the day. So hopefully you'll be able to find one if you need it.
That's amazing. Rich?
Yeah, I found the website and the that you posted. Are the meeting times listed? Does it know my time zone and give me the times in my time zone, or how do I figure it out?
I wish, that was one of the things that I asked the folks over at Refuge to add them. I wanted it so to recognize my location and break them down for me in my time zone. Unfortunately, it looks like they're listed Pacific time because we're pretty heavy out here. But if you click on them, it should show Pacific and Eastern time in the title. So like right now I'm looking at one that is Refuge Recovery Rainbow Refuge Meeting. It says online Mondays at 5:30 p.m. Pacific and 8:30 p.m. EST. So you would have to do a little bit of digging to find the exact one for you. And like, as I've proven today, that can be difficult sometimes. So that's something that we're definitely trying to work on getting it listed better. But for now, that's kind of how we're doing it. Thank you.
All right. Please include the YouTube channel in the chat as well.
Absolutely. I'll bring that in there. And I also wanted to, share my email address there. If you have any questions outside of this, please feel free to reach out. I'm trying to think of other things that might be important. I know that I guess one thing that popped into my mind right now is that there's these different treatment centers have come in to Refuge. As far as what they'll do is they'll offer it there. They'll set up a Zoom and they will attend. So it's like the way, right now, there's 2 of you in there, right? There'll be a room actually with like 5, 10, 15 people and they attend. And some people have asked, is that okay? Of course, the thing of accessibility, we want to make it accessible to everyone. So if that's how you're able to join, please come that way as well. I don't know if that's some information that'll be beneficial to you, but we have been seeing new treatment centers pop into a meeting, and that's okay. Also for instructors or students in this field, they've asked, hey, can we come and audit or just sit in and learn about it? Of course, everyone is welcome. There is no criteria for someone to join. If they just want to come and sit, maybe even if they don't have active addiction themselves, but they have family members that do, they're welcome to come in and sit in as well so that they could kind of get a better understanding. And then the other thing we try to practice too is this thing, they call it a Sangha, but it really just means community. I was really active in the church when I was younger, so I think of it as like my parish, or now that I'm active, I'm over in Inglewood, Los Angeles, my community here. Like we try to do stuff to clean up our neighborhoods. So that's all comes into the same name as Sangha. And we try to grow it by, at the end of the meetings, we trade contact information and we encourage people to, I had this bad habit when I first started these, that when the meeting would end, my practice would stop. But now I turned it around that we practice in here and we put in the work outside. So as soon as I leave, I try to reach out to someone. I check in on people to see how they're doing, and I also check in with people and let them know how I'm doing. And then my little tip too is to try to check in on your strong friends, right? You might think that they're doing just fine, but a lot of times, they're having their own issues as well. And so we try to grow it that way. And that's what this little 3 jewel thing is about. It's about the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. So it's like we're using our community. And then that's one of them. The truth is that suffering does exist. And then we also have, the Buddha here and his teachings. And that's kind of like what they go through on that.